And we're live. Hey guys, welcome back to Whiskey Charlie, our monthly war game chat show on YouTube. I'm Mo from Mo's Game Table, and joining me tonight are my co-hosts, everybody's favorite gimp with the limp, the Gimpy Gamer, Nate Rogers. How's it going, Nate?
I'm here. I'm alive.
Ooh.
Striving and thriving.
There you go.
Doing my thing. Like we were talking about beforehand, I'm happy to find out some recent news, so that's good stuff. And for anyone else who's enjoying it, man, Elden Ring kicks ass.
Oh, really?
Best video game I have played in like ever. That has definitely been occupying a lot of my time.
My son's playing that right now. He's loving it too. He's like, Dad, you got to get it. I was like, it's an RPG. I will lose my world.
It's hard. Like, by no means is it easy, but it's friggin' excellent. My little girl, for some reason, is obsessed with it. She's 5 and she'll sit next to me and she's like, "Get him, Daddy! Kill the zombie, Daddy! Get him! Get him!" And for days, she's just been walking around. She saw one of the big dragons in the game. It was sitting on a bridge, and every time she would walk up to me, she's like, "Daddy, is it time to kill the dragon on a bridge? Is it time? Can we kill the dragon?" I'm like, "It's okay, baby. I'm level 50. I'm not there yet. Well,
thanks for that one.
We will get there."
And the war game wizard from Oz, who obviously needs to pee, and he's been naughty, Mr. Kev Sharp from the big board. How's it going, Kev?
Yes, I'm in the doghouse with Board Game Geek. What can you say? You know, I just asked the guy if he needed a hanky or a hug. I wasn't sure, whether it was tears or crying, or, so I'm good. Playing Salerno 43. Unpacked my massive 22-pound box of GMT goodness. So life is good.
Nice. I saw you did that 4 shrink rips in 1, which was pretty awesome. Yeah, and you had that going for you.
Couldn't be bothered pressing stop and starting again. It didn't seem like it was kind of worth it, right? Let's just do all 4 of them.
Just roll with it. Oh, that's cool. And everybody's been showing off. Everybody's all excited about Pacific War.
Oh, yeah.
Haven't gotten that big monster in.
Let's see how many people play it, right?
Yeah, let's see how many people punch it, let alone play it.
How can anyone keep up with it? I mean, we do this like professionally, and I can't keep up with a fraction of the games.
Professionally?
Well,
you're professionally.
Professionally.
This is like amateur hour right here. Everything you're seeing right now is completely amateur.
Yeah,
I'm still wrapped up in Sacred Oil. Right, I still got that on the table. I still got Assault Red Horizon on the table. All right, I still got a few videos left to do that. I haven't even done more than open the box on Third World War. Although that was kind of funny when the wife did the guesses on that and she read the name of it. She's like, "Really? You've got me guessing this with everything that's going on in the world? This is the game that you pick?" And I'm like, "It just released, baby. I didn't have a choice." It is a good theme, though. Yes, I do have hair. That was a deal that we made. I told her I wanted her to grow her hair back out. I didn't marry a broad with short hair. I married a broad with long hair, and I wanted her to continue it. She's like, "Well, grow your hair out then." It's like, challenge accepted, and she didn't expect me to say yeah. So I told her I would try it one time, see how it works, and she's now wanting me to, like go back like what's his name, Opie from Sons of Anarchy. That's what she wants.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she wants long. So I told her I'll try it once and I'll see what it does. But if it starts to go into a fro, it's coming off. We'll just have to see how it pans out.
I noticed that it's very dark. Like, are you coloring it? Because your beard is gray.
No. This is old age.
You're using that new like charcoal soap that men use to darken their hair. I'm way past that. It's way too late for that. But there's an opportunity for you here.
No, my grandfather's
look marvelous.
My grandfather's like full Cherokee Indian, so all the guys in my family have jet black hair.
So you got the jet black hair, making you look like you're in your 30s. And then you got the Gandalf thing here, which makes you look like you're 700 or 800 years old.
Yeah.
So I'd meet in the middle about 50.
Tom says, "Listen to Silver Fox. He moisturizes."
Dude,
I do.
I'll tell you what. I was barking up that tree because I went with her to the salon the other day, and I was like, "Well, we'll ask your chickadee, see if she can tell me how to do this thing." And I'm looking in through the window, and I'm like, "Oh my God!" She like her hairdresser is a perfect friggin' 10, gorgeous. I'm like, okay, yeah. I'm good with her doing my hair. And she's like, on second thought, let's take you to a barber. I'm like, no, cool. I'm
Oh,
down
that's
with a
funny.
salon thing.
That's funny.
Go to the salon where they charge like $45.
Hey, just
I
rub my
we
hair,
have one of
baby.
those- We have one of those supercuts places. You know,
Mhm.
they've got, you can just register online to go in and get a haircut. So
$8.
I'll go to whichever one's available, and usually get there and it's like, oh, it'll be another 20 minutes. And I get online and go, the other one's available, and it's always some lady who's about this high and always about, somewhere between 200 and 240, and she's like trying to reach up and cut the hair. It's a train wreck.
Oof.
I'm getting
See,
close to
that's not-
shaving mine. Actually, I might just get down to a 2, back to a 2. It's been a while.
That's what I do. I just shave it down every month.
You don't
Yeah.
have any hair, do you?
I do.
Oh, there you
Oh,
go. Yeah, I haven't
Oh,
seen you
my
without a
Hat
hat
head.
on.
I got hat head now, but I do
Yeah.
have hair. I just shave
He
it down
looks-
I've
every
seen you
month.
without a hat on
12.
in like 5
Yeah, I
years.
do look young with the hat off. But no,
Take
I
the
don't.
hat off. You're like
I
10
always-
years old.
Like Pee Wee Herman.
No, I have to look older because this is a professional show,
Oh, professional. There it is again.
as Gimpy was saying. But so before we get any further, we talked about, you had your big box of goodness. Let's stick with Kev for a second and hear about your troubles here. You being Mr. Naughty Naughty.
Oh, with BGG. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
guess the short version is I saw some guy saying he was quitting MBT, and I went in. I was like, well, maybe we can help, right? Maybe we can answer a question or solve a problem or encourage or whatever. And the dude was complaining about the guy who runs the free fan site, and it has a whole bunch of solitaire scenarios on it. And he was complaining because whoever was running it, and I think it's the guy who's actually doing the GMT North Africa module, but he was complaining that the site didn't have all the content, and that's it. I'm out. Right? Like, I'm not playing this anymore. It's not supported. This game's not supported, and it's really stupid and blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, come on. So I asked if he needed a hug or a hanky, and that maybe that we had gotten a little too far down the path of relying on solo and solo AIs and all this other stuff. Maybe you should just put your big boy pants on and try and play the game. Apparently that's not allowed. So now I was upset and offended that he was complaining, and it made me have feelings, and but apparently my feelings didn't matter. So that's what happened. And so Octavian's given me a ban for however long it is. I'm not allowed to post. So
you must sit and think and repent.
yes, just walk away, Kevin. Yeah.
You must not say put on your big boy pants. We live in a hypersensitive world. So
yeah, really. Yeah, but don't worry about my feelings about him maligning and upsetting the designer. That's okay. You can be a crybaby about things. So sad and pathetic.
I'm sick of this crap. I'm sick of it.
If there was more effort put into, moderating, getting content that people post up there moderated faster than worrying over every little post that's up there that might offend somebody or hurt someone's feelings, we'd be, I don't know, maybe we'd be like it was 5 or 10 years ago before everybody became so hypersensitive about everything. And it's like, it's ridiculous.
You know what it is, right? All right, so guys like us, if someone says something we don't like, we're just like, eat a dick, and we go about our business. We don't worry about it.
Well, yeah, that's one of the things I would say.
Yeah, seriously. But these little
Ponder your
pansies,
sins.
they will take and they hit that report button, and he's harassing me, and I don't like it, and I want him gone. So they'll report it, and people who are weak sauce and think that someone saying something that they don't like is offensive and that they should be shut down. So those are the type of people who are constantly hitting report. So that's why all these sites end up being one-sided, because you have one group of people that have a little bit of thick skin. It doesn't even require thick skin. It just requires not being a pansy. And then you have the rest that anytime they hear anything they don't like, they have to hit report and have these people gone, because they can't exist in a world that has anything that troubles them any little bit. Drives me nuts.
In Texas, we say "cowboy the fuck up" on stuff like that. But
look, it's
which
not
is
a big deal. I just thought it was just really pathetic that I knew exactly what I was writing because I rewrote it, right? Because I was a little harsh. I was like, well, no, let's soften it up a little bit and see what happens. But just it's so one-sided. I'd be okay if it was even-handedly applied, right? So if I wanted to report that guy, for being unkind, let's see what would happen to him, right? So nothing would happen to him, right? Because he had his feelings hurt first. So,
well, we know what would happen. See, we handle it a different way. If we have a problem, we address it someone face to face, and if someone says something too out of line, they get clacked in the jaw.
Yeah.
Not anymore, though. You got to be careful with that nowadays.
Once I got the ban, I messaged the dude. I said, hey, I saw that you probably, red flag me. If you have an issue next time, maybe you could just take it up with me in PM instead of being a bitch about it.
Exactly.
And
this is what we're talking about right now, John. Why are we reporting people? It's because there are people that have, way too much time on their hands, and they have skin about, one millionth of a millimeter thick.
Right. But why even go online on the MBT forum and complain about a website
someone who's volunteering
nothing to do with MBT other than it's the topic, but it's not related to the designer or GMT. It's like, you're such a girl. Just get over yourself. Right?
Yeah.
Wait, so is he bashing on the MBT designer?
No, he's bashing on the fan site. That
this guy voluntarily does on his own time.
So why doesn't he take it to the fan site then?
Well, exactly. I guess he doesn't know how to send an email there. Or shame on you. If I like something on a fan site, I download it all, right?
Mm-hmm.
And keep it on my hard drive, so I don't have to worry about it disappearing from the web, since everything's being,
Or you could say, hey, I noticed this scenario is missing from the site. Was it pulled?
Does someone have it?
Does someone else have it? Could you email it to me?
I've got all of them. You're not getting them from me.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You don't see people taking personal responsibility. If I was in that little girl's shoes, I would have taken and looked. Okay, it's not there. Let me see if I can find.
Kev's
Peep show. There we go. Yeah, I would have looked around and checked elsewhere. Right? I check BGE, all the other shit. See if I can find it somewhere else instead of crying about it. They pulled it down, and then when someone told me put on my big girl panties, no, I got to report him.
I said big boy pants. Come on.
You need to. I mean, the difference is if you say something and someone says put on your big boy pants, what's the first thing you do? Seriously,
you're talking to me.
Any of us reflect on it a minute and say, did I sound like I was whining, like a whiny little bitch, or do I have a valid point? And is he being hypersensitive? You would think for a moment, was I being a jerk, or is this guy being a jerk? This guy just
Well, it's both, right? Probably, but I would, when someone tells me to put my big boy pants on, I laugh because that was kind of funny. Maybe you're right. Maybe I should.
That's where you come back and you say, I'm trying not to wear my big boy pants. I gained already too much weight.
yeah, really, exactly. Anyway. Enough of
it's that. There's a good point, because if they can't complain about every little thing, they feel they're useless. This generation is all me.
Oh, yeah. Boom. Brit crushes it.
Well, it's not going to be around. BGG is going to go down, the toilet like so many other sites have done. Reddit's done the same thing. They're going downhill. YouTube, plenty of the social media type sites are just crashing over time because they're slowly just kicking people out and creating these echo chambers, and it's making it to where a good chunk of people don't care about, being on the site anymore. And really, do you want a site where you only hear just exactly what you want to hear? I mean, I want to hear different opinions.
A lot of people want.
So without getting into the whole, and I don't necessarily want to talk about it tonight. I don't really know what we're going to talk about tonight, but if we do want to talk about it, that's fine too. But don't want to get into the whole Russia-Ukraine thing. But
that is one of the topics.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go. So I've been posting as much content as I can find from both camps, right? Mm-hmm. To try and get opinions and because in the Modern Warfare group, there's a lot of folks who are he gave you money again, son of a bitch.
Thanks, John. Appreciate
it. That to share both sides in that group, mm-hmm. because there's a lot of guys that either current or former DOD or Pentagon, and obviously a bunch of ex-military, pogues like you guys and other folk of even higher ranks than you two, and so they're all in there with their opinions. I'm just curious about what they think right now. When you post stuff that doesn't conform with one set of views, you get this, oh, it's all wrong and evil and propaganda. Similar sort of content posted by somebody else from the other side. Oh yes, this is right.
Yeah.
So there can't be any conversation about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's all like dump on the guy who posted it. So I think half my day freaking moderating the chat in that group. I'm about to get annoyed and shut it all down.
Well, see, the funny thing there is a good point in what you're talking about there is it shows that even though they're wargamers, they're not thinking like wargamers. When you're a wargamer, you should look at things dispassionately and read the AAR of past actions or even current actions.
Right.
And meaning, okay, what happened in this engagement? Oh, wow, these guys really outmatched them. And the guys who were outmatched, they were able to fight back and defeat them or push them back. How did they do it? What tactics did they use? What information do we have to learn from?
Right.
That's what you should be looking at, not going, well, I'm all in on this guy because the media tells me to. So I don't want to hear anything negative about these guys or anything the other way. It's like, all I want as much even information, because the one thing I found, well, two things, which one of the topics we'll be talking about tonight is the second thing I'll bring up. But the first thing is we're definitely seeing, was that Nate crying? That's what it sounded like, Nate crying, or is that a cat over there? But one of the things that we're seeing is everything is very pro-Ukraine, and you're even seeing, like the other day, a perfect example. I sent you guys that video of the ambush that happened. The first video is very misleading. It makes it look like the Russians just stumbled into an ambush and that was the end of it. They didn't show you the rest of it, where, okay, the AFEs did kind of, they didn't act as optimally as they should have. The same with the infantry. They should have attacked the ambush, but they kind of ran across the road. But then the two tanks turned their front slopes at the threat and started hammering the area.
Right.
And that's what I'm talking about, is they're cutting it off before they're showing you the full thing to give you a one-sided view. And that's a bad thing to fall into. You want to see both sides and the full context of everything, so you're better informed. And that's not being pro one side or the other. That's being pro truth.
Right.
you know?
Yeah, and I don't have a horse in the game, right?
No, neither do I.
I don't want the United States to be involved. I don't want NATO to be involved. I don't want my kids to get drafted up and have to go fight a war over in Europe. We've done enough of that, right?
Yep.
I'm interested in it from a number of different perspectives, from a war gamer's perspective, as a human being, what's going on. I've told you guys about some of the humanitarian stuff that my buddy from my Bible study is doing. And he's over, he's back now, but he was over there for 2 weeks, getting little kids out of an orphanage. So there's a lot going on over there that's not good. And we should be empathetic and compassionate about all that and do what we can to help. But I don't think we should be spending that blood. I'm okay with spending treasure, because hell, we're spending so much money, don't matter anyway. But let's not just go, oh, bad guy, right, or good guy, because I think they're both friggin' crime lords, right?
Yeah,
but whatever.
There's lots of gray over there. And then the second thing, which we will discuss afterwards, we'll let Nate chime in here, is the one thing that I think has irked both of us is, I know because you and I have briefly talked about this, Kev, is how so many people, not so many, but there have been several people that I've seen have jumped on this whole, well, that means that all the World War III games that are coming out now, the hypothetical 1980 World War III games, they have to rethink their numbers on the Russians because we're seeing that they're not accurate.
Right.
Different era, dude. Completely different era, different army sizes.
Right. And that would be a really interesting conversation.
Yes.
To at least bounce around, because I'm kind of leaning more into some of that when I'm seeing what I'm seeing, but it's a different command and control system and different, like you said, different scale as well. And there's a reason for one side going to war, whereas I think in the current circumstances we're seeing a lot of conscripts going,
Yeah.
I didn't know. I don't even know why I'm here, right? I'm just shooting
What
the
the hell?
tent.
I was told it was an exercise, and you guys would be waving to us and throwing us candies.
Yeah,
Yeah. They're
Okay.
being lied to. So
Anyway, so
yeah, that's a whole nother subject. How about you, Nate? What do you got to weigh in on this?
As far as all that's concerned,
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be a Russian troop. I know there's a huge difference between 2020 or the 2020s, should I say, and 1980. The era that most of these games. What Sacred Oil's 1985.
yeah,
Third World War is what 1980, roughly
Mhm.
somewhere in there. So most of those games are set in the 80s when they would have predicted a Third World War happening during the Cold War. I don't know as much specifically about that time frame because I was one, when
shut
that was
up.
going on. But from what I understand of
You
it,
had to bring that up.
NATO was stronger, but also the USSR was stronger during that period of time. It seems like they've kind of let themselves stagnate. I mean, they haven't exactly had a whole lot of conflicts that I know of to, sharpen their edge. I mean,
Mhm.
not to sound crass about it, but the U.S. has been involved in one conflict or another. What since ever? Since what Grenada?
20
We've
years
been
since you were,
fighting somewhere.
yeah,
And
since you
we've
were
been fighting
one.
somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. Since
So
before he was one.
my point is we have always had someone who has had some combat experience and could pass that experience down to the next line. All right. So they could
Yeah.
kind of keep sharp. My drill instructor in Marine Corps boot camp had a commendation for killing 2 guys with an e-tool. I know because he put that commendation right there on the moat table and, was showing that to us hey, this is good. This could be you one day. You could kill people with an e-tool. And we're like, oh, wow, really? We could? That'd be great.
See, now
But
this right here is a great point. What Britt was saying, keep both sides civilians in our prayers. Definitely everyone is, I don't think anyone is wishing any ill will on the civilians at all. No.
yeah, but what Russian civilians are at risk? None of them are at risk.
There may be Russians as citizens that are in Ukraine. There could be Russian citizens that are visiting family in Ukraine because they're closer than people understand as far as countries go. Their people are closer than people think. And it's just a shame that this whole thing's happening. And hopefully maybe they'll just come to a peaceful, resolution here pretty soon rather than this escalation stuff.
What's their ultimate goal? They're not really getting anywhere. And I don't really see NATO getting involved because NATO only exists because we allow it to exist. No one else really funds it. I'm sorry, but their agreement is what, 2% of the GDP everyone's supposed to invest in their military to keep Russia in check. And no one's done that besides the US for decades.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the US, NATO wouldn't exist. All right. They would have crumbled a long time ago.
The good news is everyone is now ramping up their spending, even if it is a one-time 100 billion from Germany.
Yeah.
But like some of those analyst guys on the Modern Warfare page are pretty interesting chaps, and they're saying there's 600 or 700 Leopards, but they're somewhere between 90 and 150 that are operationally ready to turn the engines on and go, type of thing. So,
I heard it was 10.
well, who knows, right? Somewhere between 10 and 100. Either way, it's de minimis. It's not enough. It's not enough to get you a column shift, right? So
yeah.
On the combat table. So anyway,
100 billion isn't going to make that big of a difference.
100 billion.
I mean, really, if you think about it, what does a F-22 Raptor cost? Something like 22 billion.
That goes into a whole different conversation about government waste, contractors charging too much, kickbacks, payoffs, a whole bunch of other things. Because there's no way.
Which is why all this is going on in the first place.
Well, war's a racket, as Smedley Butler said. So, I mean, that's always going to be the case. But the thing is, going back though to the original topic, which was World War III war games would need to now adjust their numbers. First thing to keep in mind is we're talking about a completely different Russian army than the Soviet army. The Soviet army was much bigger. It had I think 3 or 4 times more armored vehicles, things like that. So it was a much bigger military. there was this whole us versus them, the West versus the East. There was a much different mindset between both countries. And I think at the time, just numbers alone, it would have been a much different conflict. And on top of the fact that they love their artillery, and air power would have been a big thing too, neither of which have we seen being used in what you would expect to see in an operational environment like Ukraine.
Not being used in the way it's supposed to be used according to their doctrine, and same with the way they're deploying and using. I know, I guess there's weather involved, right? They've got to stay on the roads and stuff like that. But the air war, so Petraeus was on a webcast I got an invite to 2 days ago, I think it was, and he was saying that if you compared, I guess Gulf One to this, and day one, the Iraqi Air Force was out of action, right? All the runways were created, everything was taken out, and anything got up in the air got shut down. So it's very different the way these guys have approached it, and you got to wonder if that was just bad management or hubris or something else, because certainly not textbook, right? Nor what anyone has seen before when they went into Chechnya and Afghanistan and stuff like that. So, well, that's a different type of fun.
Well, it's easy to pick on someone who's not as technologically advanced, but I hate to say it, a lot of the conflict that I've seen over there reminds me of the type of conflict we were involved in when we were in Iraq. Armored vehicles going down the center of the street, spaced out. They would get hit from one side or the other, drive over a mine. That type of conflict. It's not a war per se, like you would expect Russia to be fighting or two industrialized nations to be fighting. The Ukrainians are fighting a guerrilla style war, which I would understand and expect, but I really would have expected Russia to have raffle stomped them by now. And the fact that they haven't does make me kind of giddy. I'd be lying if I said it didn't.
Thanks, Mess Up Rules. Appreciate that. The thing about it is with this whole thing.
Are people giving you money just to piss us off? Is that what this is?
Probably.
All right. I'm just checking.
The thing about it is, like, when they first started out, you'd expect a couple different things. Number one, what's the first thing you do? You prep the battlefield. You shape the battle space. Right. You make sure that you're hitting all your targets with missiles. You're taking out the air defenses. You're taking out the aircraft. You're cratering the runways, things like that. You're making sure all of that's done. They did that. They started that. And then they almost immediately launched the ground offensive at the same time. For the most part, it seems like Ukraine has done a smart thing by pulling back and kind of going into almost like prepping for a siege mentality by pulling back into the cities. Now, that forces Russia to come to them in the cities, and at the same time they have to hammer the cities. They hammer the cities. It gets everyone up in arms around the world because there are civilian casualties. Because now, and I'm going to have to explain this because I think some people may be offended by how I'm going to put this, but people forget that civilians do get killed in war. And I'm not saying that you should not avoid civilian casualties, but when your army pulls into a city and you're trying to get at the army, that increases the risk to the citizens, which is one of the very unfortunate side effects of war. And everything that happens like that, because we get hammered, every time in Iraq and Afghanistan, anytime civilians were hit, everyone was up in arms. It's like, it's going to happen. It's definitely a massively unfortunate side effect of war, but innocents always get killed in these things. And it's a sad thing. We do our best to try to avoid it. Smart weapons have helped with that, but they're not a silver bullet. And, then you run into the other issues that Russia has. Everything they got to do down the roadway. They're doing it without any flank security, no forward security, and they have no overhead security. So they don't have, fixed or rotary wing aircraft overhead, giving them doing surveillance and at the same time providing air cover. So it's a big giant mess. So when they get hit, it's like, oh, the idiot Russians. And that is partially true, but at the same time, what the hell are they thinking? Why are they not doing what we would expect to be normal operational, conducting a normal operation,
Yeah, they're dragging it out. And a city is the absolute worst place you want to fight. It is absolute worst terrain. And for those who've never fought in, I fought in cities before. Fallujah was a much smaller city than I'm guaranteeing some of the Ukrainian cities, but it's the worst because there are billions of places to hide anywhere. You can have a guy up in a window with a sniper rifle or RPG, whatever it is. The top armor of a tank is the weakest. I saw a video the other day talking about that that like steel bar mesh that they now have over the top of some of their tanks that's meant to stop some of those grenades from coming down, and I forget what's it called, Hesh or something like that.
More like Wish. More like Wish armor.
Yeah, more like wishful thinking, right?
Yeah, you wish there was armor there.
But it's supposed to try to protect them a little bit from the explosives that are being rained down. But if you're trying to go into a city, you're going to get hit. There's alleys, there's guys in buildings. They can drop Molotovs on you. They can do anything. And your only option is to just lay down mass fire and level everything. And if your hands are tied and you're not supposed to do that, then you're going to get kind of pushed around. I mean, that's what happened to us in Iraq constantly. Is every time we went in, we were getting hit from areas where we couldn't see it until they hit us. That's why we had a standard operating procedure of what we were going to do when we were hit, not if we were hit, because we knew it was going to come from one of the buildings above us, below us. They'd pop a daisy chain there along the road, because you're right. You're coming in on a road. It's the worst place to come in on. They can see you coming from a mile away, and they're not even fighting in the desert like we were. But it's the worst, absolute worst type of warfare you can fight, and the Russians don't have to fight it, but they're going to get more bad press if they fight, dirty the way they could to win much easier and quicker. But nobody likes them right now anyway, so it's kind of like, what do you have to lose at this point?
Yeah.
Their only other choice is to keep getting smacked around until they eventually give up, which is going to look worse.
Yeah. So Hathwell says, compare U.S. and Iraq and Putin and Russia and Syria. You guys didn't flatten entire building blocks to counter guerrilla. Russia's doing it again now as they did in Syria. And that is, we saw that there was happening today. There was a video that I saw came out today where there was inside buildings, inside the shops, they had their own security cameras, and they were showing a video of the citizens coming off the street and some of them being hit. And the other people trying to pull them in and things like that to get them out of the shelling. And other people, they had an outside security camera where it showed people were there when the impacts were happening, and they were running down the side of the building trying to get to safety. So, that's unfortunately going to happen, but you can't avoid that. And again, it's not a justification when it happens. It's just, those are the cold hard facts.
Look, I will tell you a difference between us and this situation is, well, at least my guys, I can't speak for everyone in theater, but we gave a shit about being the good guys.
Yeah.
Right.
So we would go out of our way to ensure that we did not shoot civilians. We would avoid their religious mosque, even though that's where they stored their weapons. And we knew that's where they stored their weapons, and they knew anyway.
Because it was off limits.
But we would go out of our way to protect the civilians, right? We definitely did not try to gun down anyone unless it was absolutely necessary in the city. Part of the problem, though, is there towards the end of it. I mean, all the bad guys were dressed up as civilians, so it's kind of hard to tell the difference. I don't think Russia's having that problem, although I wouldn't be surprised.
No, I don't think they're having that problem. It's just the other thing, too, is what are they calling it? What did Putin call it? A special military operation?
Right. It's not even a war, right?
It's not even a war. So that could also be why they're doing things the way they are. So
it's kind of like Vietnam, but the policing action, right?
Kind of like Korea, Vietnam. It's like, well, we're going to use certain rules of engagement because of that. And then you have the citizens in Russia that are protesting, and the things that the risk they're taking by speaking out against it. So it's just a giant mess. But the point of it is not to talk about the war itself and try to be armchair generals here. It's to talk about.
But there's so much interesting to talk about.
Oh no, there is. But we also still don't have the full picture to be able to speak, I think, with any true sense of what's going on, because we're getting a lot of anything that comes in the media is going to be slanted to shape a narrative, and that's why you got to go out there and get as much information from multiple sources as you can to find out for yourself.
Right.
But the thing is, going back to war games now, someone had mentioned earlier that this could affect, like Mitch with his Next War series. Will that affect how he is going to? And we should have gotten Mitch on tonight, is what I should have done, because this would have been a great topic for him to discuss.
Yeah.
To talk about how could this impact designers going forward with modern stuff, especially dealing with Russia, not the World War III stuff, because totally different era, totally different equipment, the whole 9 yards. So your thoughts, Kev?
Whew, yeah, I think that's a biggie, but I think if designers are looking at this, they're going to, oh gosh, maybe if you take the hypothetical that the whatever next war type of situation that's coming up, it's the Russians are all in, or whatever country, China is all in to do whatever they're going to do, or Vietnam, or whoever's invading who, whatever the topic is, right?
Yeah.
If that country's all in and the populace is committed, maybe you get a different outcome and you get a better handle on how all the different facets of the military will work. But if you look at what we're seeing today and you go across to next war Poland, I'd be really concerned about giving 6 and 7 rating efficiency ratings and morale ratings to the Russian forces in that game now, based on what I've seen, right? And certainly maybe I wouldn't be looking to make all those tank divisions be whatever they are, 7.65s. Maybe they're 6.5s or 6.4s or whatever. But if you took it, would be really difficult.
But a point here with what you're saying, and it is a great point about the efficiency ratings. And I think, if memory serves, 6 is considered elite.
6 would be elite. I think 7s are the highest. I think
is 7. I thought 6 was highest. Could be. I'm not sure off the top of my head. I'll have to look. But
I'm pretty sure, like the
here's
and stuff like that.
Spinning off what you're saying there with the efficiency ratings. One thing we're not hearing, at least I've not heard of anything of any special operations being done. No special operations forces, things that where it falls into that elite status. We're seeing guys that are, at least what's being reported, it's kind of lower echelon troops. From what they're saying, these guys are saying, "Hey, I didn't know I was coming here." If you're at elite, you know what you're doing. I mean, you're there for a reason. What your reason is. That's my point. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was
no. It's a good point.
What you're saying, yeah.
We're not. So I saw early in that we're trying to land. I don't know if it's rumor or not, but there were 3 aircraft that got shot down. They were supposed to have all their like elite paratroopers and stuff like that were being flown in because they'd sort of secured the airfield, and weren't 1,000 or 800 paratroopers killed, and they're supposed to be some of the elite chaps. I don't know. So, but getting back to on the war game side of things, I think it's got to color your perspective. And I know Mitch follows stuff pretty closely. He changed ratings on certain aircraft and issued them in the supplements and or in the C3I magazines. So I'm pretty sure that we might, maybe we could see something different or alternative set of counters at least, so we could try.
So does that mean that the what is it, Next War Poland 2nd edition and the 3rd supplement are going to be delayed a little bit longer? Is he
maybe, who knows,
crunches the math?
Well, I tell you what, so the Korea game, I do know that there's a scenario you can download from his OneDrive it's called, I think it's called The Real War or The Real Deal or something like that, and it gives the North Koreans their actual ratings, right? And so you play that, and it's very different than playing what's a more balanced. What the game as released is more balanced, and it's a tougher fight. The real ratings, it's over in 3 turns, and North Korea can go, what the hell happened, right? So very different.
Kim Jong-il will be like, we just said start. How is it over?
Aren't most of the troops that are fighting now like their lowest echelon, kind of like their National Guard version? right? They're
No,
just
there's
cannon fodder.
there's guards divisions right now that used to have a connotation. It's a different connotation now.
Yeah.
But it's either second division or second army or something like that. That's supposed to be an elite armored formation, and
Really?
so, and they're arguably doing better than some of the other stuff, but still. Have you seen some of the videos of the insides of these BMPs and these tanks and stuff like that? I mean, just like total
They're
shit
wrecked.
show, rundown equipment. And there's that whole thing about all these Chinese tires they bought. Apparently they're, had all this equipment sitting in the backyard for 4 years or 5 years, and these tires are all broken down, and so they're having breakdowns. Now, is that Ukrainian propaganda? Probably, but they're showing videos of all these vehicles with blown out tires, and it's not some sexy sniper shooting out wheels. Right?
Yeah, it is weird. You have to wonder.
Look, I'm just wondering how much of it is
How much is what? Go ahead.
what?
No, you said I
was
want to know how much of it is, and you stopped.
Is no, I was waiting on you. Are they just not putting their best foot forward, and they've got better stuff, hanging back in the rear, and they underestimated their opponent? Or is this really them trying their hardest, and they just really are that much of a scrub? What's the real story behind this? Did we really just overestimate them by this much, or are they just not trying because they didn't think they were going to have to try that hard?
That's
And
the
now they're
$100 billion
kind of in a shitty
question.
position.
Good question. But I don't think we're ever going to see the T-14s in battle there, because they're too valuable, and B, there's not very many of them, and C, why would you when you've got literally tens of thousands of T-72B through whatever they are, and the T9.
I don't know if they've got that many now. I think the Russian armor numbers are much lower than they were back in the day.
I think it's still 10,000 tanks.
Yeah, it's probably like 10 to 12,000. I mean, they may have thousands, but I mean, like,
okay, sorry, yeah, I said tens. Yes,
no, but I mean, like, back in the 80s, there was like 40, 50,000 somewhere in that range, I believe.
Was it really
of tanks? Of tanks. But then you're also talking, they were still T-34s, T-54,
right,
55,
right.
62, 64, 72s. So there was all of those. That we're going to be throwing at you in those wave attacks. So they're not doing that here. But it does, that's the question that I think will be looked at for quite a long time once this is all resolved, is what was the failing? Was it leadership from Putin, or was it underneath him, the military leaders? Did they not inform him that his military really is not up to snuff the way he thought it was? I think it's going to be multiple levels that it's going to be failures.
Well, I just wonder, how are we going to, represent this in war games, and should we even have that much of a representation in it? Because until that question's answered, then there's really no point in changing stats or changing estimates. They might end up just being changed back, later on down the line, once we find out the true story. So before war gamers start going, oh no, let me pull this off the press and crunch all these numbers, just kind of leave things be and let it see how it plays out, and then make a final call. And then maybe Ukraine's troops get bumped up a little bit on the notch, Yeah.
Well, interesting, different tactics too, right? So all these man-portable weapons platforms have been pretty devastating, right? There's no head-to-head big tank battles that we're seeing evidence of, or any of that sort of stuff. It's all ambush tactics and one-offs, or it seems like it.
Yeah, no, it's true. And like you were saying with the javelin, everyone's like, Saint Javelin, they're making the big deal about the javelin, and it is a great weapon. However, how successful would the javelin be in a proper operational environment where you've got your security out, you've got your air cover, those things, where you're not just basically driving down the road, where you've got this giant column that, everybody is looking at it going, making the jokes about A10 drivers going, oh my God, if I could just get one pass over that, it's just this giant long train of vehicles. So I think we have to moderate the exuberance over different weapon systems, because one of the biggest things that's proved to be extremely useful is drones. Drones are changing everything in this, because even the cheap drones, the cheap Turkish drones, they're hammering the Russian armor with that, and they're also getting great video, and they're using it for ISR instead of having big drones overhead. They're just using the cheapy drones, and it's working great.
Yeah, that's actually what we used while I was deployed. For the longest time, we had we called them Johnny Fives. They were this $25,000 sophisticated IED detecting robot. It had its claws and it could dearm and sense things. It was a real expensive piece of equipment. We ended up replacing it with $400 T-Maxes that we strapped C4 to and just drive those up, hit the button, blow it up what we needed to, instead of putting Johnny Five at risk, because every time one of those things found an IED the hard way, Uncle Sam lost 25 grand. Send in the T-Max.
And someone got a demerit, right?
Yeah. I mean, hell, the radio that I carried cost about $20,000. At least that's what they say. Yeah. You know, supposedly, nuclear EMP shielded and all this other crap, and leave it to the military. They can always find a way to do it cheaper. So we use those little T-Maxes. You could do the same thing that we were doing with them. Strap whatever type of explosives you want to it, put a little GoPro or some type of camera on it, and drive it straight up to the tracks of a T-80, hit the button, blow it up, leave it immobilized or destroy it, create a roadblock. You spend a few $100 and you've caused thousands, tens of thousands of damage to the enemy troops, and you've stalled them in their tracks. So you're right. Drones are making a big difference.
Yeah, totally. And even little RC controlled cars, right? You could you could jam a block of C4 on that with a little freaking,
like in Call of Duty.
Yeah, the little Call of Duty thing with a little mobile phone activator, boom, right? That's all that stuff doable, right?
That's what a T-Max is. It's a little gas powered RC car.
Yeah.
Nice.
I used to sell those when I worked at Hobby Town way back in the day, and we got a shipment in when I was overseas, and I was like, do I get to keep these? Are they sending us toys? Like, what are we using this for? And the EOD guys are like, oh no, these are our new bomb disposal idea. Yeah. Big crate, take the shit out. Work great.
And so that's part of the adapt and overcome mentality, right? That I think armies like the U.S. Army have, and the Russians haven't really been in a conflict like Gimpy said. Nate said for a while, right? Chechnya was the last one. When was that? 15? That was
14.
Syria.
Maybe it's ongoing at some sort of low level. I don't know, but
yeah,
it's been a while. So they haven't sort of rolled shit out seriously in a long time. So there's no innovation. There's no adapting to the environment. There's no dealing with the technology. They've been fighting in the Ukraine for a while. And I heard that, you saw and heard that both sides were using drones and using drone killing technology with, radio frequency busting and all that sort of stuff. And now all of a sudden they're not doing any of that, right? Massed fires for artillery, and we're starting to see more of that, but they were doing a lot of that. Now nothing.
And the other thing that has not come into play, at least to this point, because I think that would be something that Ukraine would be very happy to promote, that is happening. We're not seeing the vaunted cyber war technology being used, cyber warfare aspect of things. So, I mean, that's one thing that puzzles me. If, there's all this stuff that we have said, the U.S. has said that we're worried about with Russia because they've got such alleged great criminal activity over there with the different groups they have. Well, how come? And there was always the talk about this, I know some of the designers call it like hyper war, cyber war, things like that. How come we've not seen more of that? And why would you not use that if you had that capability and you could shut down cities and shut down their communication to the outside world? Do it. If you're going to go to war, you want to get every advantage. So it's weird that we're not seeing that either. So that's another question.
Yep.
Ukraine took over Russian Netflix. Did not hear about that. I could just see you invade me. No Netflix for you. Cut it off. You're not watching The Witcher.
And I guess this is not necessarily war game related, but it was fascinating to me how rapidly the Western corporate culture jumped on the anti-Russian bandwagon, shutting shit down so quickly. Like we haven't seen that for anything. We didn't see it with Venezuela. We didn't see it. We've never seen it with the cartels. With in Mexico. Why don't we sanction Mexico to death until they fix their problems down there?
Yeah.
Or why don't we do something with the Sudan in Darfur or the African nations?
Yeah.
Maybe that does not very.
No, that's a great question.
Right,
yeah,
right.
we've seen this. The whole world is basically turned on Russia so quickly,
right,
that we've not seen with any other nation.
Yeah, it's just really odd to me. And I look, we need to make the Russians aware, and I think the Russian populace is more aware than what everyone gives them credit for. But coming back to the cyber warfare thing, I think that's fascinating to me that nothing has happened. Nothing's happened here. Nothing's happened there that we know of, and it's all. And no special forces activity and usually, someone leaks something about this sort of stuff where we go, oh, we just took out so-and-so. Why haven't they killed this Zelensky guy? Right. Or their generals or whatever.
The other interesting tidbit is, we've had, unfortunately, in the past couple of days, there have been 2 journalists killed over there.
Yeah.
And a couple of them injured. And
who they report for?
Well, one guy used to be for the New York Times. The other guy was with Fox News.
Don't get partisan like that.
I was curious. It's no real big loss for either.
No, it doesn't matter who they're reporting.
I'm joking,
is that it's just that there's journalists in there and they're getting shot. And both times they were by Ukrainian checkpoints. There was also a BBC report team that had video last week. I think you've all seen
that. That was insane.
They literally came under fire. And they had it all on video, and they were escaping because the Ukrainian checkpoint was shooting at them.
With the press bulletproof right? The body armor on.
Yeah, and they're like trying to cross the bridge.
They're jumping out with their hands up, and they're still getting shot at.
Yeah. So I would say, is it are the Ukrainians? What's going on over there? Are they trigger happy? Or are they not sure? We don't know.
Something's off because every time we had press with us, the press rode with us.
It's
the press. I mean, they were right. They were in the fucking Humvees. They were there with us, or MRAPs later on. Like we protected those mofo's. They were embeds.
These guys are not embedded.
Yeah, we were told we had to mind our P's and Q's, and we couldn't do some stupid shit while they were around. But they had access to some shit we didn't, like hooch. So we traded. We took care of them. So if the Ukrainians are shooting them, then there's something else going on. I'll say this. I think the biggest factor, and I think this is something that no war game can really encompass and understand, is that human factor. That do your troops want to be there? Do your troops are they motivated? That morale is a big encompassing word, but it makes the difference at the end of the day. If you're invading somewhere and your troops don't want to be there, they are not going to perform anywhere near worth a damn.
Right.
It doesn't matter how much electronic warfare you have. It doesn't matter how much armor you have, how much ammo you have. If your troops are unmotivated, they don't care about the conflict. They might look after their buddy, but if they don't hate the people that they're fighting, then they're not going to do well. I mean,
it's not even whether they hate him. It's just that they want to get out of the situation alive, or they have a belief in the fight or whatever. But the will to fight I've talked about that numerous times. The hardest thing to model in a war game is the human factor.
Yeah. But Mo, because you were in boot camp, that the Marines do this, I think, much more well than the other branches do. And there is a indoctrination that happens. A certain mindset that's put into you makes you feel
Marine
like
Corps
a
is a
10
cult.
feet tall. Yeah, bulletproof, killing machine, that whole type thing. But you need to have that mindset, and in a way, you do need to hate the thing that you're fighting, because otherwise, it starts to tear you up.
Well,
right? You can't empathize with them.
Well, they're no longer people, and you can't. And all military does that. If they're smart, they're going to other the target. It's going to be a target. It's not going to be a person. It's not going to be a guy that, under normal circumstances, you may sit down and have a whiskey or a beer with that guy, and everything's cool. It's not necessarily that you're going to kill each other. In a peaceful situation, you may just sit down and have a drink and find out this dude's just like me. He's from another country. So you have to make it where it is a target. It is not a person. You can't, because then your human nature is going to kick in and say, it's against my nature to kill a human being. So.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why, they call them Krauts, they call them Charlie, call them Hajis, whatever it was. You don't call them people. You have to change that mindset in the troop that's fighting. And in the stuff that I've seen, it just does not look like the Russian troops have that will to fight. They're there because they're ordered to be there. Their families would be rounded up and executed or whatever if they didn't go. Russia doesn't seem like the kindest place to live. But just because you're sent there and you have no other choice, it's not going to make you a badass in combat. You're not going to do a really, really good job. I think that morale factor is you can't put that in a number, right? Every game tries to put that in a number. These troops have morale of 6, these troops have morale 8. It's something that's intangible, but it has to be there. It's the core.
It's intangible, but I think you can model that to a certain extent, because if one side, as I said, if one side's in, they're all in. Ukrainians are all in, right? So their morale's higher than the other guys. Now there may be varying ratings for the other guys depending on the quality of, the history of the unit or the motivations of the unit or the leadership of the unit and stuff like that. So I think you can build in some factors for that, but you would be looking at making, if you took next war, for example, you'd be making changes that are pretty significant to the Russians based on what we're seeing, right? So you would be downgrading them to 4s and 5s, versus 6s and 7s if they're 7s.
All right. So what's the average troop rating in next war? Like a 3 or a 4? Is that
no? Probably a 5. I think it's a 4 or 5. It varies because you've got India versus Pakistan, and you've got Vietnam versus PRC, and you've got Poland and the US and West Germany and Italy versus the Russians and the Bulgarians. Is Bulgaria one of them? I forget which one. It's not Bulgaria.
Yeah,
it's,
probably Bulgaria.
I get Vietnam in front of me. It has no Russian troops in it, but PRC troops 658, and they're 6ER, 346, 447s, and they're pretty much all 6s.
No, it's like that's the U.S. forces, though, right?
No, these are PRCs.
Oh, PRCs are 6s. Yeah, interesting. See, that's pretty high. Now, I bet you that's probably a balance thing, because I just don't know. They've never fought. They haven't fought a war since forever.
79.
Right. So that's kind of high, and I remember that now. That's kind of high. But what were the Vietnamese?
Yeah, the Vietnamese are. Let's see. I'll just compare some armor here.
Yeah,
we've got. Let me find an armor. It's all mech. Okay, so we'll compare mech unit. 447 mech unit for PRC and a 446 for the. No, I'm sorry. Correction.
Yeah, but what's the efficiency rating?
895 for Vietnamese, and they're both 6s.
They're 6s as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, when you get to the US, you have 458s with 7 efficiency rating.
So the US.
So you were right. You were right with 7.
I was right. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Then now I would drop the Russians down to a 5, maybe even a 4.
Yeah.
Just based on what we've seen and how well they performed, because they have not been efficient by any means.
Right. Yeah, and that efficiency ratings, training, morale, effectiveness, leadership, it's all sorts of things, right? So it's a cool way to collectively capture capability that's not how many bullets can you push out per minute type of thing. So
well, I mean, look at what we're seeing. We're seeing bad morale. We're seeing no use of any type of electronic warfare.
Crappy tactics.
Crappy tactics, bad leadership. You start combining all those things together, they're not worthy of a 6.
Their comms are crap. Their comms are broke.
Yeah.
I mean, they're picking up phones, and they reported in that one of their colonels, I think it was last week, was dead in an attack, and they did it in the open, in the clear, on a regular radio or on a regular phone. And that's like how it got picked up by the Ukrainians. And they were obviously talking about that. However, this is something else. Has it been verified that these people are dead? Or is it Maskarovka for the Russians?
Right.
They
right.
like to hide stuff, which would be smart to be deceptive.
Right.
If you're in a war, you're not always good. Maybe you throw something out over to clear on purpose to feed them disinformation.
No,
So
they need
you
a
don't
win.
know.
They need a win.
Well, we don't know is what I'm saying. We don't know if they are or they're not. The odds are these guys did get killed, but who knows? Maybe they didn't.
Right now, they need to enemy at the gates this shit. All right, they need to try to put as much positive propaganda towards their troops as possible, instead of saying, "Oh yeah, by the way, your boss got killed, and the boss's boss got killed, and the boss's boss got killed. So yeah, keep doing what you're doing." No, that wouldn't make any sense. That it wouldn't be a good move on their part to lie about that. There's no benefit.
Yeah. So they acknowledge paratroop general, but again, is that even though it's being acknowledged, is it true? Because remember at the beginning, everybody was on board when it said, "Hey, you guys need to give up that island or we're going to bomb you." Right. Russian warship, go fuck yourself. Famous. Everybody loved it. I loved it too, because it's like, hey, that's defiance in the face of sure death.
Yeah.
Oh, these guys are heroes of Ukraine.
They died to a man.
They were captured. Yeah. Turned out they were captured.
Yeah.
So I mean, confusion, fog of war, friction, all those things. We're seeing that in real time.
Yeah, same as the Ghost of Kiev, right? The pilot.
Yeah,
which I was trying to find the T-shirts I could wear tonight, but it's in the washing or something. So I was going to wear it tonight. It'd be fun.
So, what's the deal? I heard that he may or may not exist. Did that get confirmed?
Yeah, it's a myth.
It's all bugs. Yeah.
But that's a good myth. That's
it's good war myth. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you want, because those things inspire people, right?
Sure.
Mo, tell me the names of the two guys who got the Medal of Honor twice. Do you still remember from Boot? Don't make someone in the comments do it.
I don't remember.
Oh, God.
Tell me. Go ahead, tell me.
Dan Daly, and Smedley Butler.
Smedley Butler. Okay.
Yep. Remember, we said that shit over and over and over again. It wouldn't even matter if those two guys existed. Now, they did exist, but they pound that shit home so it gets ingrained into you. You have something positive to look up to. Yeah. So when the Ukrainian pilots are going up there, it doesn't matter if the ghosts existed or not. That's what they're thinking about. Right. That's positive propaganda.
Oh, absolutely.
Work in their favor.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and then you have things like, you know who White Feather is?
Mm-mm.
Oh, I didn't know who the two Medal of Honor winners. You don't know who Carlos Hathcock is?
Oh, I've never heard him called White Feather before.
Well, that's what he was called by the Vietnamese, White Feather. No. You have a guy like Carlos Hathcock, who's the father of Marine Corps snipers. He basically they had all these things out for him, wanting to, bounties and all that stuff to kill him. And he was just a machine. With the things he did in Vietnam, the technologies he helped create, the training that he helped create, the whole sniper corps that he helped create was just amazing. And there was, of course, with the Vietnamese, some of that it becomes legend or nightmare to them. And then it turns out that, this guy is actually real, and it's a problem for them. Whereas Ghost of Kiev is, at least to this point, seems to be a myth. Now, what happens if there was a guy out there that's been kind of kept on the down low now, because the air war is not a big thing? Maybe that's why the air war is not a big thing. So we don't know. I'm pretty much sure it's a myth, but at the same time, you never know.
Cool, right?
Yeah.
I like War Games, Heathwell War Games. Comment on it. Check it out.
Ghost of Kiev is real. Last seen landing in Moscow, banging Putin's concubines twice, and then flying back to shoot down another enemy. Well played, sir. Well played.
Well played. That's great.
That's what I'm talking about, though. That mentality, that's something you can't really compute into a war game. You can't just put a number on it. We're talking about the sixes, the sevens, the fives. You can get an estimate. But when it comes down to it, that human factor makes such a huge difference, and it can swing the tide of a battle. right?
Yeah.
The America won its independence based off of that type of mentality. Civilians fighting for their independence. You know, Ukraine might push off Russia, the big bad schoolyard bully, because they're unwilling to give up. Right? They've got the right propaganda going for them.
Well, the other thing too is the insurgent always has the upper hand for the simple fact that they're fighting for their homeland.
Right.
Yeah, they're willing to die to protect their homeland, whereas the invader is not necessarily willing to die to invade their homeland.
No.
So that's
the insurgent doesn't always have the advantage. Now, the Iraqi insurgent didn't have the advantage in the fact that the civilian population, for the most part, didn't support them.
Well,
now,
that was different because they weren't fighting for their independence. So it was that's different. It's more political / religious, mostly political. And these guys were not necessarily Iraqis. There were a lot of foreigners and
Syrians.
Things like that. That's where the ideological, political came, or not political, but religious came into it. If you're not fighting for your homeland, you're not going to, anyone who's fighting for their homeland, like us against the British, the Vietnamese against the French, and then against the Americans. When you're fighting for your homeland, you have a massive advantage on your side. And that's why I think the advantage always goes to the insurgent side.
Sure.
Yeah, you're willing to stand your ground to the end because it is your ground.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
You want that ground more than the enemy wants that ground.
Exactly.
Craig Roberts posted a good point about Twilight Struggle. I mentioned this earlier today on the Modern Warfare forum, that with all the geopolitical stuff, it would be a great CDG style game, pop a cube, plays a cube, take a cube type of thing. With all the cards for the events that goes to Kiev, and all these morale boosters and detractors and the political machinations and sanctions and things like that. I think you could really make a pretty decent coin game or a Twilight Struggle out of it.
Yeah, no, that's true.
It would be like a 3-faction coin game. Right. You'd have the Ukrainian faction, the Russian faction, and then like the NATO not really being involved, but all their political machinations and sanctions and all that stuff going on with it that would affect it. How long do you think it'll be before GMT pops out a coin based on this? Think next year would be a little too early?
It would be, because I think a lot of people, the crowd that will play those games, the crowd that plays those games, they're not like, even wargamers would have some wargamers would take umbrage with it. Me personally, I won't, because it's a study of a subject. It's a study of a war. If there was someone that was going to come out with one now, I would say, dude, where'd you get your numbers?
Too soon, right?
I feel like it's too soon because we don't know the numbers. But if the war was to end in a week or something like, or tomorrow, and then we were able to really dig in and find the numbers, and then 6 months, a year from now, someone came out with like a valid or updated other game like Millennium Wars and updated the numbers to reflect what happened,
right,
I would have no problems playing it, because let's see what happened and where they went wrong and what could have been changed, what could have been done differently, because I don't look at it with the emotional attachment to it. I don't do that with any war game, really. I just look at it from the study of the conflict, which is some people won't have that same mentality, and I respect that. I understand that, but I don't think a game like that would come out too fast. I think it would be a few years. Even then, people would say it's too fast.
Even discussion, like every board game, war game forum that I'm aware of, at least on Facebook, has said, nope, you can't discuss it, right? You can't discuss the conflict at all. And we're not talking about games about it or anything. So knock it off, right? And that's one of the reasons why I let the Modern Warfare forum have the conversation, because there really wasn't a place to go to have. Now it's turned into more of a newsreel type of thing, but there's a lot of really good, what I would call reasoned analytical commentary by folks, right? So I'm happy with how it's gone, and there's very limited snarky political bullshit that's going on in the forum. So it's worked out really well, and there's some cool ideas popping around, like just sort of game concepts and ideas and reassessments of capability and stuff like that. So I think it's worth at least being able to have the conversation without making it political. And me and the admins are prepared to put the work in to stop it from people from being stupid. I haven't had to ban anybody yet. So.
Well, I don't remember anybody. This is a game that we've talked about a couple times, and it's a game I need to dig out and play because it's been a while since I played it. But and you've talked about it too, Kev. Battle of Donetsk, the tactical game. That's not that far removed from when it happened. Like 10 years, 10 years. Or whatever it was. You know, so.
I had it out to set up, and the big box arrived, so I figured.
Swept aside for the big box.
Yeah, it's swept aside. I've got I played Third World War, the Arctic Front. I did a campaign for that. I got that played. That was fun. I just wanted to see if the rules were the same, and they basically are. So it's great. Just the charts are much better, and the counter art's much better, and the maps. It's a little pastel-y for me, but it's fine. And then I'm on turn 4 of Solitaire 43, so which is really, really, really friggin' good. Like
really,
yeah. I was a little shocked with the box when I got it. I was like, hang on a second, it's not even a full
small little map.
Yeah, and one counter sheet, and I'm pretty sure. No, I may be wrong, but I want to say it was every bit of $65 or $70 ish, maybe. I don't know what it's retailing for right now. Maybe someone can look
30.
that up. But is it what?
30.
Was it really
$30?
Was it really only $30? Like
it's retailing now for $30. No, not for online. Salerno, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, 30.
If you buy it online, it's $30.
50. It's 50 on their website then.
I think it is 50. I think it is 50. You can get it for 30.
It's a serious game. I get it. But anyway, I thought, well, I kind of like, well, this is kind of expensive for what I got. One counter sheet and a what I would call a 3/4 map. But I tell you what, it's so far bang for the buck. It's played out almost to the moment historically, and without me trying to replicate that, it's been really, really good, and it plays really fast. So it's a great introduction to that Simonich system.
Oh, so
Which
you think
conflict was this?
It's Salerno 43, so it's the invasion of the Italian mainland, Operation Avalanche.
Sorry, I meant the other one that you were talking about, the one that was like 8 or 10 years ago.
Oh, Donetsk. That's
Donetsk.
Tiny Battle Publishing. That's
where's Donetsk or Donetsk, whatever it's called?
Ukraine.
Donetsk.
Is in Ukraine.
Really? Oh, did not know.
No.
Sure. All right, continue. Sorry, I just didn't know where that took place.
That was it.
Yeah, so you think Salerno would be the optimal beginner game for Mark's 4X system?
I mean, if you want to get into that system, at the price point and the gameplay, there's not a lot of counters, and it's really straightforward.
And how fast does it play? 2-3 hours, 4 hours?
Oh, I bet if I just sat down and played instead of taking notes and pictures and stuff, it's literally 10 minutes aside a turn, because you're only doing tops 2 attacks, and you can't, as the invasion happens, there's very limited movement, so you don't have a lot of choices in terms of what you're going to do. It's really obvious what you're going to do, and I think once the game progresses, then it's going to get into the mountains and up into these upper reaches of these valleys and stuff. So it's going to be very slow movement. So it'll be a few hexes. You're either going to attack or not attack, and then you're going to move straight on to the opposing player's turn. It's playing really cool. I'm getting a turn done in about 20 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's pretty fast. And how many turns?
Huh?
How many turns?
I want to say 16 or 17.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's not a lot. Yeah.
So like
it's
3 hours.
42, but it's like 30 turns or something.
Yeah, it's like ballpark at around 3-ish hours.
Yeah, I would say so. And I bet you would get, and because you've got that VP track where you've got to stay on the pace with the VPs. So once you start falling behind, it's going to be I think in this game, it's going to be hard to catch up. So the Allies are really under a lot of pressure to be super aggressive. So you're going to know whether you're going to make it or not. You're not going to play. It's not a game you're going to play out to the end, because you'll auto lose if you don't keep up the pace, or you'll auto win by being ahead of the pace. I think that's how the game will play out. But I haven't. That's me just guessing on turn 4, right? So
Yeah. Well, I did get my package in, and it was simple. It was 2 games. It was Vietnam, Vietnam 1965 to 75, and Barbarossa, AGC. So figured I got to get that now because that'll never be reprinted more than likely.
Yeah,
and we have to wait and see if North and South will be reprinted. So
exactly.
within the next 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
What did you think of the Vietnam game?
I haven't played it. I literally just got it the other day, but I opened it up real quick, take a look to make sure I had all the stuff. It looks really great. I mean, I expected it to be good, and Mitch was the developer on it, so I knew it was going to be, solid when it comes to the actual ironing out everything. So I have really high hopes on that one.
Yeah.
I read something about it.
Or 0.
What I was reading said it didn't solo well, so I avoided it for that reason.
It doesn't. It's every VC counter is face down.
Yeah, that's what I was hearing. Actually, I think you might have told me that, Kev, that all the VC counters were considered hidden, and with that type of mechanic, I was like, "There's really no reason."
Yeah, and I think you could still play it, right, if you wanted to, but I'm not flipping over counters to find out what I'm going to do this turn. I would probably just play with it all face up and
just all face down.
Well, I'm just not going to do that. I'm not going to. No, I want to. What are these 4 guys, right?
Well, no, I would play face up too, because when you're playing solitaire, you're not necessarily playing for optimal strategy, to outsmart the other guy. You're playing for the narrative, and you'll do your best on either side, but you're going to make mistakes. Yeah. But I think just to be able to get the game in to play it, it would be worth playing it face up. Although you can also mix it up too. You can have like counters in there and say, this is an infantry unit, and then have a cup of, and you randomly draw them, stuff like that.
Yeah, you could do stuff like that too. I think you could. There's a lot of ways you could make it solo friendly. Yeah. I played a scenario a long time ago with a buddy, and it was great fun. But I think this will be awesome too. But it's a very, very, the campaign game is, even the smaller scenarios, they take a lot of time to play because every unit on the board gets to do something every turn, sometimes multiple times.
Well, it sounds like you would miss like a big portion of the game, and the fact that a big component for the VC side would be the hidden units. So the opponent doesn't know whether that's a fake unit or what type of unit it is. And they can kind of secretly plan what they're doing with their troops. Sure. But if you're playing with it all face up, you lose that entire field.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So for me, I'll probably end up skipping that one.
Yeah, VUCA is doing Red Strike, which is based on the Gulf Strike system.
Right. Yeah, but they're having feelings issues, so they're putting all that on hold for the moment.
Well, they did say that they're going to delay because right now with everything going on, they want to delay. But I remember that they were talking about having a delay till the end of the year anyway. So I don't think much is going to change, other than maybe they want to take a couple weeks pause, because I know I saw some people online that were saying that they mentally weren't into doing a war game right now because of what's going on, and that's fine if that's your feelings. I respect that. I'm just like, man, if I feel like playing a war game, I'm gonna play a war game. And, whatever.
That's cool. If you don't want to make the game, that's fine. I mean, other things will come.
Not like we don't have other games.
Yeah, I got plenty of games, but if it's going to be delayed to the end of the year anyway, then why come out and do the whole sympathy? Hey, we need sympathy thing. That's kind of what it felt like to me. It just felt like it was just some bullshit commentary. That maybe they'll take the time to work on the counter art. So
the counters are more concerning to me than themselves, that they don't slip and slide.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's just a lot going on with those counters. So
yeah. Oh no, they are busy.
Yeah. So
actually, I gotta say that's something I do like about that Assault Red Horizon, is that there's not all the clutter all over the counters.
Yeah.
Because all that information is taken off and put on the cards instead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you just have the cards on each side of the board, and you can kind of focus more on the map. Now that does kind of take you out of it, because you have to, pull back and keep track of the separate rules and everything. But the counters do look nice and smooth on the table. You're not
Yep.
cluttered up with all the tiny little numbers and having to lean down and peek to see what the stats are. So yeah, I definitely
You
appreciate
enjoying it?
that.
You
Oh yeah,
enjoying it?
I love it.
He loves it.
Yeah.
I thought you would. Yeah.
I'm a big guy into custom dice. So I really love the custom dice they did. The different colors for the different strings, the different symbols on it. It's real easy to understand. It's either a blank, suppression, hit, or a critical hit.
Yep.
Real easy to understand. You know, a compared dice roll, and the defense's dice cancel out the attacker's dice. Real easy from that aspect. All the special rules are right there on the cards for the different types of units. You can look quickly, and everything's color coded because of the dice, right? But the biggest thing that I like is those formation cards, because it gives so much replayability to the game. Because the scenario, the order of my Southern's coming through, the order of battle,
Order of
might,
battle.
yeah, might tell you that you're going to have, you know, 2 tank formations on the German side and an artillery and an infantry formation on the Russian side. But there's multiple cards for each one, because there's 3 different formations, you know, the infantry, artillery, and tanks, and they're all different. So you can randomly select those cards, and you never know what you're going to have. You could have Panzer IVs, you could have Panzer IIIs, you could end up having some type of artillery support group, which is actually your infantry. That gives you extra anti-tank guns. It gives so much replayability to it. Plus, you can actually take the scenarios afterwards and reverse it with who you're drawing for, and play, you know, the Russians on the red side and the Germans on the blue side,
Yeah.
you know, or vice versa. And it gives the game so much replayability and so much variety. Plus, the command points. I'm sorry, I know I'm getting away into it, but I love the command point structure with this too, because the formation cards each come with a command point allowance, and it's not as much as there are troops on the card. So say there's 4 troops, you'll get 3 command points. And for however many cards you have, they're all going to be like that. So each turn, you're going to have to make that choice on what units you're going to activate. And that comes into play with reaction fire as well. So if you think you might have to reaction fire with a unit, you're going to have to give them a command point. But if you're only planning on reactive, you know, doing reaction fire with them, and you give them that command point and they don't get that chance, then you've effectively wasted a command point, and now you can't activate a different unit. Plays very well Solitaire with all of that that type of stuff going on. And I've actually talked to Wolfgang and been giving him a little advice as far as Solitaire, because he was wanting to look into that, expanding that component of the game for later on versions of it. But yeah,
I don't think
really
there's a need.
So hang on. I'm going to just go say goodbye to a kid who's leaving for a week. So
Okay.
you guys talk amongst yourselves, but I'll be back. Okay.
Sure.
Tell him we said bye.
And this is Red Horizon, Assault Red Horizon 41 is the game. It was a game that
I've got
I
a
was
bunch
sent.
of videos.
It was a game that I was sent, and I just could not get to it. And I just did not, because I had other things that were kind of taking precedence over that. And I felt terrible that I was not able to get to the game. So I sent it to Nate, because I figured he's going to love it. And, you know, because we do share a lot of game interests and stuff. And I knew he was going to love this. I knew he'd have more flexibility in getting more videos out. So he's done a great job with it, and you really enjoyed it. And I do think it is a great game myself. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it. And one of the things that I really liked about it, especially at the tactical level, it does one of the things that I really like at tactical level, oppose rolls. Because even though I'm attacking you, you're still getting to roll defensively.
Yeah.
And you're attacking me, I roll defensively. So you always have a chance, even defensively. You don't just sit back and take it. You know, it's not like, okay, I gotta maximize my chance to shoot you. And once I do this and I get this plus and that plus and I get a column shift, okay, I'm just going to roll, because anything above 4 is going to get me a kill on a D10 or 2D6 or something like that. It's like, well, okay, you're going to kill me at that point, or you're going to at least, you know, flip me over or whatever, get a step loss out of it. No, here you have multiple steps, which is another thing I'm a fan of. And you have the back and forth, which is what tactical should be. I'm shooting at you, but you might be able to duck or get into a hull down or whatever in time. And that's how I justify the opposed roll. If I miss, well, I shot at you, but you were able to, your your tank jinked and it zigged instead of zagged, and I was figuring on the zag and you zigged and I didn't hit you because you beat the roll, which I think is kind of neat. Plus you have those critical hits too, which also can do things. And then you have damage that the vehicle can take when it goes over a rough terrain, things like that. All those little neat little things so you have to take into consideration your movement across certain terrain types.
Yeah, and all the units have different little special conditions for them, like the old Russian T-35s that had multiple turrets all over them, really big monstrous tanks. They are considered error prone in that game, so you have to roll a d6, and on a 1 or 2 they're going to have less movement points to move that turn, right? And you're right, you definitely have to consider it on your turn where you're moving your troops, because certain areas are going to give them bonuses defensively. Like the fact, I do like the fact that plains, just normal terrain, actually give infantry and artillery a defensive bonus while not conveying that to vehicles, because infantry can lay down, they can hide in the grass, they can get down. A tank can't do that, it's just out there in the open, right? But infantry can get down and get at least a little bit of cover in a ditch or something to that effect, so they do get that little bit of a bonus.
If I remember, don't the Stugs have a similar advantage versus a higher profile tanks? If I remember correctly, I think so, because Stug is very low profile vehicle, so I think they get some sort of benefit because of that, because they're a lower profile, similar to what you're saying with the infantry. But
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised, because I don't have Stugs in the scenario I'm playing, but the T-35s are considered tall, so enemies get a free reroll when they're going against them.
Yeah,
because they, much easier target to hit. But the opposed roll is easy. You just check the chart, see what dice the attacker gets, what dice the defender gets, roll them and compare them, and they cancel each other out. And the higher scores can cancel out the lower scores, but not vice versa. So a critical can cancel out a normal hit, but a normal hit can't cancel out a critical, right?
Yeah.
So if you've played any type of miniatures based skirmish game, something
Possible
like X-Wing, Legion, you'll adapt to it very, very, very quickly.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, the game's great. I definitely recommend it. And
it could
I'm
be
gonna
a miniatures game.
Yes, I'm gonna have my games now sent to Mo, and then have Mo send them to me, because this is how I like to have a game arrive. Already poked, already put into counter trays, little plano boxes with them all, the admin counters spread out and divided. That's the way to get a game.
Now you see my storage solutions. Now you see how I store my games.
Yeah, because at first I'm sitting there looking, I'm like, okay, I've got all the unit counters, but where the hell are the admin counters? And I couldn't find them until I flipped up those little flaps. And I think I stumbled across them on accident, because I was poking around in the box. I'm like, I know I'm missing something.
I was waiting for you to text me and say, dude, where the hell are the admin counters? I'll be like, flip up the little lids on the insert.
I was getting irritated, and I was poking around. I was like, there's something under there. And I found the plano box. And I was like, damn right. Okay, I got this. Perfect. Now, the one aspect that I am not using in my little playthrough of it, and it's just because I didn't want to have everything in there, because I was afraid I would make too many little mistakes if I tried to have all the possible optional rules, was the training level of the troops. So like green, regular,
elite, all that.
Yeah, but you can have that as well. So your green troops can have a penalty, or your elite troops will have a bonus to defense or attack, something to that effect. But it's not required. You can leave that part out if you want to. But it solos very, very well, especially if you use the command points.
Yeah, I think it's great solo. It's great fun. And Kev was away, but I know you've played it as well. And here's one of the things that I thought was a good point, and we talked about it, was there we go. Look at that face. He's like,
okay, 1 second, buddy, because we're talking.
What's going on, buddy? How you doing?
Good.
You doing good? You listening to Daddy? No, just say no. I don't listen to Daddy.
Ask Daddy for $1.
All right, come on. All right, tell him bye. Bye, buddy.
Bye.
Bye. There you go. But what I was saying was, I think it's great to have in tactical games. I think it works really well, especially is opposed rolls, because I'm attacking you, but with you get the defensive dice, so you get a chance to avoid a hit or minimize the hit. And I love that for both sides, because then it
You kind
feels
of participate, right?
yes, you're participating in it, and you always have a chance defensively, and also the multiple hits, similar to what we saw with Blue River. I like the idea that it's not just flip and 2 flips and you're dead. It's multiple hits, and I like that, because then it feels like there's these vehicles are not as brittle as they are in other, like other war games. Some things are very brittle. I like when you have, even in operational level games, where you have 6 steps instead of, you may go from 10 all the way down to 2. You may have all these not breakdown counters, but the other counters that go with it. You flip them over and then you go to the next counter. You flip that over and then you go to the next counter. I like that, because it feels like that unit is real, and it's just not as brittle as it is in other games.
Yeah, and it gives you some variety when it comes to the units, because there are some infantry units that are smaller. So instead of having every infantry unit be take a hit, it gets reduced, take another hit, it gets gone, you have some infantry units that have more, and they'll be able to take upwards of 4 hits, whereas some smaller ones like tank hunters or machine gun teams, they have fewer men, so they'll go down in the usual hit, flip, gone, afterwards. Definitely well done as far as that game's concerned.
Well, Jeff, Kev was just talking before about playing Third World War. Arctic Front, you said, right?
Yep.
So you must have missed that. I literally just got my game, and I was listening to everybody saying, "Oh, I got this thing broken down into 6 counter trays," and I'm like, 6 counter trays? There's got to be a way to get all that stuff to fit in the box. Challenge accepted. So I got it down to 3 counter trays and all in the box. So
wow,
cards too, because it's a thick box. You just put the cards on the end, standing them straight up.
That's what I did. I put the cards on the end. I baggied mine. Yeah. I don't. I usually only punch when I'm playing, and I leave it until I'm punching the rest. But with those kind of sheets, that it's all coming out. Right?
Oh yeah. You can't punch one or two.
Pre-punched, pre-cut, whatever they're called. So nice though. Nice counters, nice and thick. So I've clipped.
What all areas are in Third World War? Because they've got like all the European front.
Yes, it's a whole thing from top to bottom, side to left.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Arctic
European,
front.
Persian, Arctic, and where's
Persian? You got Arctic front. Battle for Germany. You've got Persian Gulf, and then the fourth is
Southern Front.
Southern Front. Thank you. I was like, why did I just go brain dead? Southern Front. And then you even have an extra map in the box too.
Yeah.
Map D.
Yeah, which is deeper into
what's the extra
Russia, and it's planned for. There's an expansion coming.
Yeah. Or if you want to create your own scenarios.
There's going to be you know more about this than I do, Mo, but they're going to do they'll do expansions on this.
Oh yeah. There are expansions already in the works, so there's more to it. There's more to Third World War coming. So
there's even
if you're
more
a fan
Third World War.
Yes, there'll be Third World War in multiple chapters, so that's a good thing.
Yeah,
if you're a fan of the game.
Well,
so yeah, that's
these are
cool.
by Frank Chadwick. So is he making the expansions?
No,
they'll just build on the system.
Who's making
right?
He designed the game, but there was a development team that did the work on updating it.
Okay,
it was his original design.
He would have a lot on his plate if he's still working on Thunder in the East stuff and Third World War stuff all at the same time.
So here we go. Here's Greg actively working on Manchurian Front and updated order of battle for Third World War. What about Stalin's World War III?
Order of battle.
What is that?
That's another game. Stalin's World War III. I think Ty did that one.
Oh, never mind.
So I
a lot of nukes.
Sorry.
All about the nukes.
It's all about the nukes. Craig Robertson, you're trying to keep working on Thunder in the East. Thunder in the East when is the next game in Thunder in the East going to come out?
That's supposed to be Medfront or something, isn't it?
Yeah, when is that coming out?
I don't know.
There's so much change going on that system. I don't even know. I'm waiting. I'm waiting.
I heard as the game came out, I know, Nate, you were really a big fan of it. I had gotten it too. And then, to be honest with you, I was hearing there's change and this change and that change. And I was just like, all right, you've already invalidated the rule book before I even play it. Sit down and actually play it. I'm selling it. I'll wait till if they ever come out with a final version of it, I'll get it then.
That's what I'm doing. I think DMT will do a reprint of the original. It won't be as sexy, I guess, because that was a pretty high-end production.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to put their own fingerprint on it, kind of make it theirs since they've acquired the IP. But it was done so well to begin with. And I'm sure it had a little bit of errata in it, like every game does. And that's fine if you want to touch up that stuff.
What? Whoa. Hold on.
Hang on.
We should never accept errata.
Look, there's only one game company. There's only one game company that almost never has errata. All right. The rest of them have errata. Academy Games. They play test their games for 10 years before they release.
Yeah, I was going to say they also only put out like 2 games every 10 years. I mean, war games. So, that's the thing.
Errata is back to life, but this from my understanding of what I've read from Chadwick and what's his face, what's the guy? The L is it?
Alan Emmerich.
Yeah, Alan Emmerich.
That's right. So it's gone through almost a wholesale
rewrite. Yeah.
So now that may be an exaggeration, but that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, and I was hearing that a couple of years ago when they first went to GMT, and I was just like, yeah, I think I'm out on this one. I'll come back whenever they get it, whenever they figure it out and the direction they want to go, and they get the final rules and all that stuff. Once they've finally set on how they want it to be played, then I'll come visit it. I don't want to keep up with all the changes
because it looks cool. It's kind of like it's Europa Light, is what it is, right? So
they had to reinvent a certain section of the game because the next version was going to have a lot of ship battle type stuff in it that wasn't in the first one. What?
That's not how it works. I'm sorry. So if you have naval, right, or you're going to have naval,
they had to invent the naval section of it.
Okay, but there's still a ton of the supply is all changed. There's a lot of stuff that's changed in the game. It's not just the naval stuff. I think the naval stuff may have impacted some other subsystems, but it's my understanding it's gone through a wholesale significant change. Because I have the original rules when it was pre-release, and I've got the current version of the rules, and they are light years apart. So
that makes no sense, because Thunder in the East was so streamlined, and even for the monster game size it was streamlined enough that it wouldn't take you ages to get it on the table, and it played well. Everyone liked it. Don't break what wasn't broken. I don't get what they're.
But when it gets to another company, like you said, I think everyone wants to get their fingers in it.
There's this classic designer developer problem, right? And he's a great example of Vietnam, right? Mm-hmm. Those guys agreed with the original designer. We won't change anything. We're just going to clean up and clarify. And any rule changes were approved by, I think it's Nick is their name.
Nick Carp,
Nick, the original designer. Mm-hmm. And so that is true to the original game. And I would say Frank Chadwick's Third World War is true to the game. Some designers and some developers just can't help themselves and have to go fix things to make it their game that they've created, right? So that's happened with Thunder in the East.
I'll tell you what, I still don't get what Alan was going for at one point, because he had actually reached out to me and got a hold of me, and he's like, oh, I'd been trying to track you down. And I was like, oh, yeah, you found me. What can I help you out with? Silence. Never heard from him again after that. And I was like, okay, good to hear from you.
Really?
Let me know if you need anything.
That's not like Alan. That's not like Alan to do that.
Yeah, I sent him a couple of emails after. I was like, could I help you with something?
Maybe you didn't get the email to the right address.
And unless he changed it, I did.
Maybe it's your fault.
Friend of mine on Facebook and message him.
I don't know.
Maybe he just
I'm gonna
put you on
reach
the
out to him
ignore
when the
list.
next one's when the next game is coming out and see what we can get worked out
Well,
as far
Greg,
as
I
that's
need to talk
concerned.
to you.
Because,
So,
like you said, I am a big fan of the original Thunder.
there you go. Frank, Greg, I need to talk to you. So shoot me an email or message me on Facebook or something or on Discord. So I got to talk to you about something. But when it comes to Vietnam, even though it can't be played, what we were talking about, it can't be played solitaire very cleanly or as the rules intend. I think there's ways to either play it straight up or pull counters out of a cup to kind of maybe half and half, to still be able to play it. And then, of course, we have Vassal. So we could play that. But the one that I definitely want to play, we were talking about it. So I think we can get a 4-player game of this going too in May. If you're interested, Silver Bayonet.
I would be good. Yeah, I'd be down with that.
So, because I think Friday we're talking about Angola.
Yep.
That eats Friday.
Yep.
Most of Friday. That's 6 to 8 hours.
Yep.
And then maybe Saturday, Silver Bayonet.
Yep.
So we'll try to do that because I think that would be a great one for 4 players.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And you would have it umpired, or you're going to have it.
No, it'll be behind the sheets.
Okay, yeah, that'd be cool.
But the thing is, with 4 players, it's easier for one person to kind of control where the units, how they're broken down, and then the other player to place them on the board, things like that. So
yeah, I think I'm hanging out with. I think I'm going to have dinner with Greg either Saturday or Friday night. I forget which now.
Mm-hmm.
And then I want to run through some of his prototypes. I'm going to play that Stuka game with him, Stuka Solitaire thingy, and then I want to see some of his opposed games because I'm more interested in those than I am in the Solitaire games. But I'm curious about the Stuka game just because Stuka's freaking cool.
Oh yeah.
So I would love to dig into that with him.
Well, we got to figure out what night we're going to do because I'm having dinner with him too. So I don't know if it's going to be same night or different night or what.
But we have a romantic day.
Well, then that's going to have to be on a separate night. I'm not going to get in that.
Does he know that you two are,
know
about each other?
It's a big surprise.
I don't want to get into that cuddle struggle with you two. So
that's cool.
No, yeah, that'd be fun. So there's 2 like fairly long games right there. And then of course fit in some other stuff, smaller, lighter stuff. And I would definitely recommend when you sit down to check out his stuff, you can spin through it in about 20, 30 minutes, probably about 30 minutes. Check out American Tank Case. Have him run you through American Tank Case.
Okay.
I think that you'll find it pretty fun because it's the type of game you can set up and then I'm going to go to bed, but I feel like playing a game here. Let me run through a mission of this. Maybe I'll play 2 missions.
And then,
3 hours later, I played 9 missions.
And then once you're done, you knock him in the head and you take American Tank Case and you send it to Gimpy. I don't have to wait.
Okay, all right. Well, we can do that. We'll work that out.
Either you can make out with him or something. Whatever you got to do to, make it work.
When I said I had a big surprise, that wasn't what I meant.
Hey, I'm willing to sell you out to get an early copy.
Yeah, I bet you are. Yeah, I bet you are. That's funny. Well, when I do cons, me, I'm like, okay, it's 8 o'clock. Let's go. 8 a.m. Let's play. And look, it's 1 a.m. Okay, I'm going to bed, and then I'll be back down there at the same time.
What time do you go to bed?
1.
Oh, 1. I thought you said earlier. I was going to say, damn.
No.
So Nathan's got a question for you. Any idea when the HM World Series Thunderbolt will be coming out?
Oh, wow. Well, that's the $20 question. I bet you now that Markham is finished with the Pacific War, although he's probably going to be spending a lot of time answering questions based on the Board Game Geek page that I've seen. I think I think he's helping Alan Ray with that. Number 1. Number 2, I heard that that's still in progress. So I thought before Berg died, he said he had to do the counters. So that probably tells you that's where it's at. The maps were done. The concept was done. they've updated the rules and all the rest of it so it's going to be the series rules are kind of cleaned up and fixed, so it's ready. But I don't know where the actual all the scenarios and scenario testing. I bet you that's got a long way to go, and GMT doesn't tell me anything, so it's all what I hear from other people.
There you go. And then John says, Stuka Ace Hines is JU-87. See how many MiGs you can shoot down. We're talking Greg Smith. We're not talking Ty Bomba. So I don't think we're going to have that sort of crossover.
That would be quite the crossover.
That would be.
Yeah. What if Stuka versus MiG?
Exactly. That would be under like Stalin's World War III sort of thing, you know. But yeah, so I mean, it should be fun. You know, I think there's going to be a lot of good games to check out. Plus, the other thing that you'll like is, and I think helps with the convention, the way John does it at CSW is the what do you call it? The vendor area is only open for a couple of hours at a clip. So it's open from like, I don't know, I'm throwing out times 10 to 12 or 12 to 1 or 12 to 2 or something like that. And then 4 to 6 or something.
Right.
So it's not there the whole day. So they're not stuck there the whole day. They can wander around, play games, do demos, whatever. And then, hey, guys, let's take a 30-minute break and run into the vendor area so we can take a break from our games, get coffee, get a drink or whatever, and then run in and take a walk around the vendor area.
I'm going to have an empty trunk, so I'm bringing some.
Nice.
I have nowhere to keep it. I'll have nowhere to keep it then.
I'm going to be emptying a lot of games. I'm going to bring. I've got a running list so far. I'm close to 50.
That's a good idea.
selling.
I should bring all my stuff I want to sell.
Oh,
Yeah,
are they
'cause
doing one of those like open sellers table
Yes.
market things?
Flea market.
Genius mode. That's good. I have a closet full of stuff that
There you go.
I got to get rid of before.
Because I'm going to be having to thin things out because we're moving
Right.
to a different town. So
Yeah.
moving from one house to another, and it's going to be smaller, and I'm going to have to downsize. And these are games that I need to.
This is not acceptable.
What's that?
Your move.
I know it is not. It is not. I'm not thrilled with it, but it is what it is. It's only for 3 to 5 years, and then when I retire, I'm gonna find another retirement location.
Wyoming.
Yeah.
Tempting.
Idaho's close.
Idaho is where I'd really like to live in. The Coeur d'Alene area. Yeah.
We just need to pick a spot somewhere out in the middle of nowhere, and no one can bother us. If there's a Hooters close by, and then plop down.
I know a place that has a war game compound underway.
For you, Gimpy, I would carve out a little corner for you, and you can put your own little house up there, man, and do your thing, and we can meet in the barn and we can play war games.
I think my brood might drive you nuts.
No, I have an electric fence. Don't worry, and your kids will have collars, so it'll be fun.
And I have stock in Zequel.
Did you see the pictures of my my little mobile home I bought?
I've seen some of the pictures you've been posting up of all the construction stuff going on.
The funny thing is, my wife has been saying about that. If we get for a retirement location, we'll get a barn or something of some sort. And I'm sitting there going, I'm kind of looking at those prefab homes, something like that might not be a bad idea. Or like a really, because I said to her, granted, this is Texas, but you're still going to need insulation. You can't just take a shed and think I'm going to sit there in 110-degree heat and play with a crappy AC running, or even in the winter. And then the sounds and everything. It's like, I want to be in a kind of a small house type of situation. So we'll have to look and see.
Well, John's got an idea. We could go to the Philippines and live like millionaires.
There you go.
We could. My wife would still be here, though, and I would be broke. So,
yeah, divorces do tend to go 80% their way.
Yes.
Yeah. So
it's expensive. So, a war game compound definitely sounds like the way to go. So
we could do one of those mini homes, and then you could do an insulated barn, and then like your game room, and give her a corner for sewing or whatever it is she does. She's a sewer, isn't she?
No. If that was to be the case, what I would do is, I've already said, if when that happens, when we retire and all that stuff, because she's like, well, got to downsize. I'm like, I got hobbies and things I'm going to be doing. I'm still going to be working after I retire. I'm going to be doing other stuff.
Right.
Plus, I'm going to have a hobby stuff that I want to do, that I'm going to like really dive into more deeply. And I was like, I need to have space for a studio where I can shoot videos and at the same time play games and build my models and stuff like that, because I like to build models and I'm going to enjoy all that stuff in retirement. So I'm not going to take some little tiny room and which is kind of what I'm doing here. I have my one office space that I do most of that in. So in this new house, I'm already figuring out, okay, the closet's big enough where I could probably put my shelves in there and put my games in there. So now I got to figure out how to get at least a 6x4 table, if not bigger, into my office space.
Right.
And that's going to take up the majority of the room, and then my desk. So
yeah,
it's going to be tight.
I'm sacrificing the work desk. I'm going to do a skinny stand-up desk, and that's going to double as TV for me, and that'll be it. It's all bookshelves and game tables.
Oh, what's this? There's an old assisted living home for sale in Omak, Washington. 15 bedrooms, large common areas, great for old wargamers home.
The only problem is it's in Washington State.
Hey, it's in Washington. No, if it's in Washington State, no, hell no. It's too close to like Seattle and Portland and those areas.
Too close to too close.
Yeah, wouldn't go there.
But
sorry,
I do like the idea of 15 rooms. That's
cool.
Pretty awesome sauce.
Have ourselves our own little polygamist compound.
Yes, like, there you go again. There you go. You're always like right there every time. That's so funny.
The only
I bet the house, not actually doing the polygamy thing, but you know how they did you ever watch the show The Browns? Right?
No.
And my wife loved that show. She watched the hell out of it. But evidently in Utah, they have a lot of homes that are designed to be like multi-family homes, and it'll be like a house, and they're all connected, so a wife can have each section to herself.
Oh, wow. See, now we can have the Wargamers Big Brother show. Now, instead of polygamy, I would say maybe multi-system building. So like, this is the next war room. This is the Third World War room. This is whatever. Know, this is the Army group, North, South, Center group over here. Like things like that would be kind of neat. Ancients are down the hall.
Yeah, but see, you guys don't have like kids to worry about. Kev's kids are almost ready to, skedaddle and do their thing.
They'll come back. They always do.
17, 18 years worth of crap to deal with at minimum.
Why do you think I had to buy the mobile home? It's because I got to put a kid up for a couple of years. So anyway.
How old's your youngest kid?
He's a senior in high school.
Yeah, so at least a few more years.
Wow.
3 or 4.
$400K for a 15-room house?
Yeah.
Tempting.
I bet you it's a shit show.
Possible. But I mean, that would be for a 15-room house. Ooh, I can get a lot of wargaming done in that.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I may need to hit the
we're gonna close out here as it is. We were just winding down. But thanks again, everybody, for joining us tonight. And we hope you enjoyed the show. And we will be back next month. And then we will be next month. We're going to probably have John Kranz on to talk about CSW Dallas. And who knows, maybe we'll squeeze in another show in between or something like that. Have maybe a Friday night show or something like that. We'll see how that goes. We'll have see if we can get Mitch on and we can discuss this a little bit more, because I'd like to get his thoughts on the next war series, because Kevy brought up a lot of good points on that too, about the efficiency ratings, things like that. How would he approach that? And I think that would be a great topic just for the Ukraine stuff. We've been talking about having him on anyway to talk about next war.
Maybe we can tease out what the next title is too.
Yes, that would be very cool. But again, everybody, thanks for tuning in tonight. We really appreciate it. And we will catch